Hello everyone, I'm Rashmi Bandari and today I'd like to talk to all the first year students of engineering. I'm going to share insider tips regarding campus placements because this is what I've been doing for over 2.5 decades. So the first thing that any engineering student in the first year needs to concentrate is on marks. Why marks? Because the companies do have a cutoff. So try to aim for a 10 CGPA, you may end up with 9 or worst case 8. So that is rock bottom. Beyond that, please don't go down because it's going to be very tough later on to make it up. Second and third year is relatively tougher than the first year. So if you get 9 in the first year, then maybe it may end up with 8 in the later years. So try to maintain at least 9 in the first year or 10, that will be great. And the second thing is you have to do projects. Now how many projects do you need to do? Ideally at least 5 to 6. So every semester from 1st to 6th semester have at least 5 to 6 projects. I know of students who have got even more, 15, 20. So okay, that is the exceptions, but on an average a minimum of 5 to 6, which requires you to do a project every semester. And yes, initially the quality may not be very good, but in the second year and the third year, try to go for better quality projects. The third thing that you need to keep in mind is to do internship, and at least 1 or 2 internship, and it could be online or offline. And what is an internship? An internship is that you are doing work with a company where you get paid. Now there are a lot of training organizations which say internship, but actually they are training organizations and they collect fees. So please keep it in mind that in internship it should be paid. Paid who? Who pays whom? The company pays the student. So you should be getting money for doing an internship, not the other way around. And worst case scenario, you should be doing it at least free. If somebody is asking for money in the name of internship, please understand it is not internship, it's a training and they are cheating you. So keep that in mind. And what else do you need is, you need soft skills, so basic language skills, these are mandatory, alright. So I'm not getting much into that because I think that's pretty obvious. So now let us look into the whole scene of the campus recruitment. So the campus recruitment will start usually in the 7th semester. So that means what? Your marks up to the 6th semester is only counted. And some of the companies come a little early even in the 6th semester, which would mean that only marks up to 5th semester is counted. So that's why your marks are very important, because the first thing that the company sends is the eligibility criteria, and in the eligibility criteria, marks is one of the criteria. So if you have a decent 9 CGPA at least by the time you finish your 6th semester, then you're good to go and attend all companies. So first criteria is marks, and marks doesn't mean that you're going to get a job, but it is just a basic cutoff. So if you have marks, you can attend the seminar, sit in the seminar hall and attend the pre-placement talk. And once the pre-placement talk is over, then they have their online test. So mostly companies will go for an aptitude or a coding round. So what happens is, in the aptitude, you have to be good in aptitude, which is basic maths, 7th, 8th, 9th maths, but only thing is time is the criteria. So it will be like 30 questions but maybe 20 minutes. So you have to do maths, you have to practice this doing aptitude because of the time factor, and a good resource for that is India Bix. So you can go to this platform, it's absolutely free, and start practicing right in the first year. Please do not keep it for later, because first year is relatively easy. It's a repetition of your 12th. You have all the time right now, and get into practicing aptitude in the first year, and also start your coding. And coding is not only for IT students, it is also for ENC students, because most of the ENC students, electronics and communication students, also need this, because most of the companies that these ENC students get into is also IT based. So that's why coding is mandatory for all these students of CS, IS and ENC and even EEE. And for that you can start off with HackerEarth and HackerRank, and this you could start off in the first year, but at least in the second year go to LeetCode, LeetCode. This is mandatory, students, because many times people don't work on LeetCode, and the feedback that I get is that most of the questions that the companies are asking during the online test is from LeetCode. So you need to practice it, and at least for 2 years. So in the first year maybe HackerEarth, HackerRank, CodeChef, Geek for Geeks, and later on graduate to LeetCode, mandatory. Alright, and if you're solving those questions, then it is great. Then once you clear your aptitude, then the next round is the GD, but not all companies have GD. But in case there is a GD round, what are they looking at is basic communication skills, interpersonal skills and subject knowledge. So you should be well aware about what's happening and your communication skills should be good. So speak in English in the campus and every other place that you possibly can so that your communication skills are good. And GD is not as prevalent today because in the online test itself there is an English paper. So most of the screening is done even for English in the online test. So you have to practice your aptitude, and then if there's a GD then you clear the GD, and after the GD the next round is the technical round. In the technical round what the company is asking is for fundamentals. What is fundamentals? Where do you study it? Essentially in the second year. After the first year you enter the second year. In the second year all the fundamentals are taught. So be very careful about the second year because all those things that you have studied you should understand it well. Otherwise you will enter the placements and then say I forgot. Why did you forget? Because you studied long back. Now you don't forget your ABC, isn't it? Why don't you forget your ABCD? Even though you studied decades back. That's because you understood it, no? So same way, you don't forget what you understood. So please be very careful about this, that you should know your fundamentals extremely well. There is no escape from that. So everyone should know their fundamentals, their particular branch fundamentals very well. So the companies are going to quiz you on the fundamentals. The second thing that they ask you is your projects. That's why if you have 5 to 6 decent projects, it's very good. They also ask you what is your favorite subject. So now your favorite subject is something that you really like and you have studied it. So naturally everyone has a favorite subject. But see, what is important and tricky over here is your university may ask you a 100-mark paper and there could be a choice. Now if you say this is my favorite subject and you have got good marks, but you would have left a little bit of that subject because you thought choice is there. But when the company is asking you, because you said it's your favorite subject, they don't know what you have left. So they could ask you anything from that particular subject. So please do not skip on that favorite subject of yours. Know it thoroughly in and out so that when you attend the technical round, you are very clear and you know everything. Please keep it in mind that the company is not asking you what you do not know. The company wants to hire you. So they ask you what is your favorite subject. It is not the interviewer's favorite subject. It is your favorite subject. Alright. So when you say this is my favorite subject, you better know it in and out. Alright. So that is another thing. And more or less this is what they ask for. So that's why a decent project, strong fundamentals and knowledge on your favorite subject, that's more than enough. And then you enter the HR round. Now in the HR round, what is the company asking? They're basically seeing whether you are a decent fit into the organization. So they check your attitude. They also check whether you are interested in higher studies. So if you are attending campus recruitment, you should not be wanting to go for higher studies because you are wasting the company's money, isn't it? And even if you want higher studies, you can do it after a couple of years. So if you are very clear that you want to go for higher studies, don't attend placements. But if you are attending placements, don't go over there and tell I want to go for higher studies because you're just wasting the company's time. Another thing to keep in mind is, see, there's this huge myth about higher studies. Higher studies is nothing as great for an engineer because when you enter a company, you are also learning. Who said higher studies is only in academics? In fact, the industry is way ahead than the academia. So whatever you study in the company while you're working is very great, is very good. It's the latest technology. So a company would rather have someone who has worked with them for 2 years rather than someone who has studied somewhere, be it in India or abroad, because what they are learning may not be really very relevant to that particular organization. Unless of course you're joining some of these Ivy League colleges. So that apart, the rest of them, I'm really telling you students, it really does not make a lot of sense for an average kid to opt for higher studies. That's a totally different subject matter. But at least when you come to the HR round, please do not say that you want to go for higher studies. Another thing is that you should be flexible for working at any shift because nowadays it's a global village. Everyone gets work at any sort of time. So you should be ready for that, and then you should be ready to relocate. And more or less, if all these are falling in place, that you are good to go and you get an offer letter. So these are some of the things that I wanted to tell you. Add on is, some of the tips is have a one-page resume. So while you're in the first year, interact with your seniors to have a look at the resume, isn't it? See, your own batchmates may not share the resume because you are a competitor. But look at the final year students. They're in the final year and you are in the first year. So there's always, wanting to help the junior. So go and interact with them, ask them, how to make a resume, how to go about doing a project. Please interact with them right now while they're still in college so that you get some insider tips. Also volunteer in the placement department. We are always in need of volunteers. What is the benefit for you is that you come to interact with the students who are attending placements, you understand the whole process so that you are much aware of it beforehand. What's going to happen after another 3 years, you get the advantage before that. So you can plan better, right? You know how the PPT is there. Once you attend a pre-placement talk, you are also aware of it. So it's not strange for you when you attend your own PPT. You know how to ask a question. You know how to attend a GD. Because many a times when you're a volunteer, you're also part of the GD. You're part of the interviewing process. So you can see students getting in, getting out. You can ask with them, what did they ask? You know, everyone is exchanging notes. So you become really very much aware about the whole scene. So it's really great if you volunteer, because this will give you added insight. And another thing that you could do is learn a language, a foreign language. And at Sahyadri, we have opened up Japanese, but you can learn any other language that you want to, because a foreign language is an added plus. And like I said again, this is one thing which I strongly want everyone to remember, especially all the CS, IS and EC students, to practice on lead code, if possible in the first year, if not worst case scenario in the second year. So after saying all this, I would like to end, but even if I have to end, and I want to you to remember a few things. First is marks. Without marks, you cannot even enter the placement drive. Alright, so marks are extremely important. What is the marks? Like I said, in the first year, 9 CGPA. In the third year, by the time you reach the third year, 9 would be great, but at least 8. 8 is the new 60. Okay, so please get at least that much. So don't aim for 8 in the first year. Aim for 10 in the first year, which will end up coming up to 8. Okay, so that is one thing. So the marks is very important. The next thing that I want you to remember, projects. Alright, so do projects. And the third thing is at least work on lead code. Alright, so I think if you can keep up these things in mind and add an internship, I think you're good to go. So here's wishing you all the very best and happy placements.